Well, I told you guys that if something significant happens, then I will make an update ASAP. And it's been about 5 days, and nothing really significant has happened in terms of price action. But I will go over what has happened, and I am starting to see some things in Market Cipher that are continuing to make me feel more and more bullish. So I want to go over that as well. So last time I made a video was, like I said, 5 days ago. So roughly we would have been somewhere around here. This was like the early stages of this range. And really all that's happened since then is we did get a move above the range high. We even closed above it on the 4 hours, so there was a slight break, but it was a shallow break, very insignificant. We immediately pulled back into the range, got another push to the upside just to SFP that high that broke the range. So we got an SFP and then we fell back within the range, even technically breaking some kind of structure if you're going from the bottom up by closing below this low on the 4 hour. I'm not really concerned with that though. I'm more so looking at this as a range still. And, I'm even right now considering this as a smaller range. So that's kind of the context I'm looking at. And to keep things short and sweet, these are the contexts I'm trading. I told you that I'm not rushing into any trades, but I will trade the ranges as they form. So, I am looking at the smaller range in the immediate short term, and I'm, possibly looking for longs. If we get another retrace to the downside, I'll continue trading this range as long as we're ranging. And I am even looking for a long setup right now. I can't go into too much detail with it, but let's say starting from, somewhere around 57,500, I am looking for longs within this more local range. And other than that, if we get a further retrace, there could be some long setups around the low end of this larger range. And if we break this range, then I will start looking for longs to, pretty much play into the larger range that we're in. Whether that comes as a retest trade, if we are lucky to get a retest, or if price just kind of continues moving to the upside and we start ranging at some point, then I'll trade whatever range forms, or I can try and get in on a continuation of trend. So those are my plans at the moment. I do think there is a pretty good chance that we could see some kind of a push to the upside here based on what I'm seeing in Market Cipher and based on how price action forms here. I think there's a potential short squeeze to be had. Now, how high that short squeeze will bring us if it happens, I don't know. We can look at some of the significant levels. Again, this area right around 62 900-ish between the value area low and this lower high is going to be very key resistance. So, that would be an obvious target for me. If we can get above that, then I'll start looking towards higher levels. Point of control, value area high. At that point, we could look at a full rotation of the range. And that's pretty much it when it comes to price action. Not too much has happened. I'm still pretty much looking at the same stuff. Only difference is there's a bit more local context. I think that smaller range that we're kind of forming within this larger range, if you want to call this the larger range. So, between this high right here and this low, which I guess I'll say the actual price points 56 470 to 59 700. This little range right here is the context that I'm really focusing on right now. Could there also potentially be a short play? Yeah, you could look at a short play. We did SFP the range high once and get a retrace from it. That would have been a good trade. But at this point, I think my bias is more so pointing to the bull side. So I will go over Market Cipher and kind of explain why. And starting from the top down, we'll go to the weekly time frame. So I am seeing the VWAP on the weekly time frame start to curve to the upside. I'm seeing momentum now below the zero line for the first time since October of last year. And we could potentially get a very shallow trigger wave here with the VWAP curving to the upside. I think if the lower time frames are kind of pointing to this printing a trigger wave, to this really turning around after getting a very shallow move into the lower side of Market Cipher B below the zero line, then I think there is a good chance that we end up printing a trigger wave here. Now, the weekly time frame does take a long time to develop, so I think it's also possible that we maybe see a temporary move to the upside, maybe only to that, value area low, that area that I was looking at, and maybe we reject from there, and maybe it doesn't even give us enough time to print a trigger wave. Maybe things start turning to the upside on the weekly, but then it just flops over. So I'm still considering that scenario, but it is looking like there's a chance to get a trigger wave here, and that could actually be a pretty bullish thing, despite the fact that we did close below this low, a significant range low on the weekly time frame. I am definitely still looking at the bullish possibilities because this really isn't a super significant break. In fact, drawing a box around that close, you can see it's more wick than body. So, most of this candle within that box is wick. There's a little bit of a body. It was a shallow close, not a very significant break, and I think we definitely could see, well, a rotation still. I'm still at this point looking at this as a range. We may have just extended the range low to the downside. I've also been paying attention to this daily time frame. We did get bullish divergences with money flow and momentum. They at this point have confirmed momentum has moved to the upside following that bullish div. And I was watching this VWAP. This VWAP did start to turn over to the downside, which was making me think, okay, maybe we just print a red dot here, momentum continues back to the downside, and that's possibly when we actually see this range break significantly to the downside. But recently, we see the VWAP start to get a little pushback to the upside. It's putting up a fight. So yeah, momentum continuing to move to the upside. VWAP got another spike to the upside. Money flow continuing to move to the upside. Even locally, we're seeing it start to turn up right now. So I do think there's still a lot of uncertainty. I really want to see price action give me confirmations to really feel confident about anything. But at this point, the bullish potential is still definitely showing on the weekly and on the daily. Now, when we go down to the 4 hour through the 1 hour is when things start to get interesting, in my opinion. We see on the 4 hour that money flow has just crossed into the green. And we did, if you remember, get bullish divs on this 4 hour time frame. Pretty decent ones, at least with momentum. That was a pretty decent div from here to here. Price put in a lower low. Money flow did diverge as well. It was more slight, but you can certainly still see the direction. And it seems like that direction is even extending. And we now see that money flow is getting into the green. The first time money flow has been in the green since June 13th. So we're seeing the midterm timeframes now kind of start to point more to the bull side, backing up that daily bullish divergence. And going down to the 3 hour, money flow is looking pretty bullish here. It's continuing to put in higher highs. It's climbing at a very fast rate. Same thing on the 2 hour. Money flow did get a retracement here, but now it's continuing to grow at a very fast pace, which is interesting because price is not reflecting that. Price is still range bound. So money flow is really getting a fast move to the upside, but price is basically staying still. In fact, since this 2 hour money flow crossed over, we've pretty much stayed at the same spot generally. And you could make the argument that, okay, well, maybe there's some kind of a hidden bearish div here with, money flow putting in higher highs here as price is putting in lower highs. Money flow appears to be very bullish, yet price is not doing much, which is certainly possible. I think you have to look at that possibility. But for some reason, I am more inclined to think that based on where we're at on the higher time frames, we're at a very significant range low. At this point, I'm more so leaning towards price just kind of coiling up and potentially getting ready to spring to the upside once we break this more local range to the upside. I think if we end up breaking this range to the upside, we could see a very aggressive push just based on how the money flow looks. Like I said, you can kind of think of it as a spring. Once the pressure releases, you can see a very quick bounce. And again, I'm really going to be watching price action for my confirmations one way or another. I think if price really starts retracing here and we start seeing money flow on these midterm timeframes really turn to the downside as quickly as they pushed up, then okay, I'd really start to consider that hidden bearish div potential more, and I'd say, okay, well, that might be more of a bearish sign. We may actually see a deeper retracement. We really are at an important decision point right now, but as it stands right now, I'm more so leaning towards this just kind of being a coiling of price action, and I'm kind of thinking that we could see a short squeeze come of this. Now, the 1 hour money flow is not looking as bullish. You have to admit it's kind of going flat. We actually haven't even put in a higher high from this wave, which that was the first bounce following us taking out the range low. So yeah, the 1 hour is not looking too great, but the 2 hour, 3 hour, and 4 hour are kind of agreeing, and we're seeing money flow turn to the upside, cross over the zero line, and get good follow through following it, which I think lends more credence to the idea that the daily will potentially continue pushing to the upside, and that we may even see a trigger wave print on this weekly, which could be more of a macro bullish sign. I mean, the last time we got a trigger wave on the weekly, let's see what happened from that. Well, it was a very bullish outcome. In fact, this was a kind of similar situation where we had a range. We just took out the range low. A lot of people were fearing for a deeper retracement here, but that deviation of the range low, along with the weekly trigger wave, gave a massive push to the upside. Now, we are in a different situation. At this point, we were nowhere close to all-time high. At this point, the range that we're trading in right now has taken out all-time high. So it's definitely a different situation, but I am, considering the similarities, and I'm, thinking at the very least this could certainly give us a rotation in this range, maybe even bringing us up to put in a new all-time high. All right, that is it for this video. Not a whole lot to talk about, but I do think the market cipher developments are worth making a video, so thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. I really appreciate all the support on my channel. It means a lot. It helps my channel to grow. And I will see you all in the next video.